y'all, it's Belle. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a wrap up of my recent reads. First we have Big Magic by Sara Armstrong. And as usual, I've talked about almost all the books in my recent reads, or their sequels, so I won't read synopsis. But thank you so much, Hardy Grant, for sending me this. I absolutely loved it, and I was so happy to see that there'll be a sequel at the end of this. And I read like the last 50% in one sitting. I just could not put it down. I had to know what was going to happen. I love this magic system and the dynamic that the author created for the story. Just great detailing, down to the connection between nature and the world around us, to the ones who came before us. And I also love the idea of the circus, especially since this is just a magical circus. No animals really mentioned. And I also love the aspect of the location. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to get spoilers, but that Tulsi has to go to get her mom. Just such an intriguing, thought-provoking idea. Got me thinking about my own life and choices and stuff, and what changes would have led to another branch of my life. And Tulsi's such a great main character. She's so scared but willing to do whatever it takes for the one she loves anyway, and that's just true courage. And this is full of magic, adventure, family, and so much heart. It's very atmospheric. Tulsi had superb character development and growth, and I absolutely loved watching her come into her own. So action-packed, fast-paced, and big part to the high stakes and the race against the clock aspects. Just loved it. Cannot wait for the next one. I'm so intrigued by things surrounding Tulsi and magic and other things that happen, and I can't wait to learn more and see what happens next. So, okay, can't wait for the next one and highly recommend. And then I read the fourth book in the Keeper of the Lost Cities, Neverseen. I'm just so in love with this series. I'm just flying through it. I just don't want to put them down. They do get better and better, and the intensity and everything increases in each book so far too. And characters to add that have my heart also now include Kala, I think is it, and also 2 new characters with 2 new abilities that just fascinate me. I love them in their addition. And like I've always said, this author knows how to write incredible characters. Her characters are so good, and I just love them so much. And as usual, a roller coaster of emotions. My heart broke for one character and what they're going through. And it's something that can change a person for the better or for the worse, depending on what they choose to do with it. And I was praying it wouldn't change them for the bad. But then that ending, I didn't know what to think. There's some important topics weaved into the story as well, such as abuse. It's not always physical, and I've experienced all forms of abuse. And I've always said sometimes words can hurt more than physical. The character says something similar in here, and I just felt that. It all takes a toll, and you feel like you're alone and deserve it all, especially when the ones who are supposed to love and protect you are the ones doing it. And the sad thing is, you want that love from those more than anyone. And you're not alone. Reach out for help. Talk to someone. Anyway, just wanted to mention that. I thought that was so important. And also, our scars prove we are survivors and we can overcome. When you first look at the Lost Cities, it's easy to think it's a perfect place, but nothing is perfect. Sophie's going to help this world and make them question the things that need to change, things they never thought to question before. The humor part of the roller coaster is still amazing. Sylvanie and her TMI info was hilarious. Then the twist. Then there's a scene that had me crying at the end. Beautiful, but so sad. Then I was smiling ear to ear with Sander. Just emotions everywhere. Highly recommend, of course. And then I read The Garden Bone by Maria Magliano. And the author had sent me this. Thank you very much. Illustrations all done by the author. Such a unique and creative story, and I really loved it. I don't think I've ever read a book involving dinosaurs before, but this was done so well. I loved every detail of the world we see, including the politics of the world and the dinosaurs and the whole backstory. I also loved the magical aspects to this. Just so intriguing. And the friendship dynamic between the 3 kids is great. The bond between Wences and Nickolls is incredible though. And Nickolls has my heart. I think I'm saying that right. This got a little darker at times, so upper MG. I love my upper MG though. This is full of danger, adventure, mystery, friendship, suspense, and imagination. I love the twists and turns at the end. Very fast-paced adventure read for sure. I hope there'll be more, but I'm not sure if there will be, because I can't wait to see what happens next. So, there's a lot of continuing a series in here, so there's going to be a lot of those. But I read the next book in the Pandavas series, Shah and the Trio of Wishes by Roshani Chokshi. I think this is the third one. I've fallen so in love with this series. I'm reading such great series. I'm so happy that I've finally dived into my longer series. They're equal parts heartwarming, thrilling, action-packed, humor, and just so much more. And then, of course, the movie references and stuff continue in here. And just a few of my favorite from this one include a line from Gladiator. It's a famous line and one I like to quote myself very often. Indiana Jones, Hagrid from Harry Potter, and even Twilight. And there are so many more. And absolutely loving that aspect, of course. Still loving all the mythological goodness and culture. Such vivid, atmospheric, fast-paced reads for sure. The friendships turned family in here are just superb. I love these characters with my whole heart. And I'm absolutely loving Wifey. You just have to read it. It's so perfect. The way that is, it's just perfect. And the potatoes. And then the antelope story. I just laugh so much with these. A flying car that's scared of geese or just doesn't like them. Just so many amazing parts. The lion door melted my heart, as did Sohel. I think I'm saying that right. His love choice might have been odd, but his heart was gold, and he was way wiser than those others around him. I was so proud of our little Minnie in here. She is starting to see what she is capable of and starting to believe more and more in herself. She's the daughter of the god of death. She's starting to see what she's capable of and starting to believe more and more in herself, and I just love that. The great messages and discussions in here continue. Good and bad aren't a black and white thing. There's that gray area. What looks good or bad to one may look completely different to someone else. It all depends on who's the one deciding. And when the ones who are supposed to be good do bad things, it can be an eye-opening experience and so confusing. And poor Aro has so much on her, but she's such a tough cookie, and I know she's got this. So, loving this series. And then this book. I read the 5th book in Keeper's Lost Cities, Lodestar. Up till this point, I think I'd read this one the fastest. It was so thrilling and fast-paced, humorous at times, so much danger, suspense, terrific story building and writing, and incredible characters that I love as usual. And then the author destroyed me with one act. And I even thought about not continuing because I can't handle that stuff anymore. That's why I read middle grade. I can't read things because it'll get in my head. Even like the, especially with the book, more so than the movie of Harry Potter with Snape in the end and what came out about him, and just that scene, like I was messed up for days. But knowing these are capable of that, I wasn't sure if I wanted to, but this was at the end of a 5th book in a series, and I've read the 5 books and absolutely love them other than that one moment, and I've been having the best time, so I continued. And I will say about 200 pages into the next book, something happened that makes that devastating act from this one a little bit better for my mind and heart to handle a little bit. So I'm okay. Because I thought something would, I can't say without spoiling, but the idea of going on after that and what that meant was so too hard to even think about, and I couldn't even fathom how that would work. So what happened made that better to where it wasn't completely better, but I can't explain how to spoil. So, but it helped a lot, and I'm so happy that the author did that. I'm reading the 8th book now, which is the last one, so I don't want it to end, and I know the 10th one will be the last one. So this book also made me want to see a giant goblin dance in silver pants, and I never knew that was something I could want, but here we are. I need it. I also desperately want a stuffed animal from Ellen, and for him to also name it. And Grady and Sanders talks about boys, and Grady's that boy. I just love it. Grizel, Twinkle, so many amazing things. And then one of my favorite characters still trying to deal with the betrayal and abuse suffered all their life from their parents, and trying to make it right for the ones they care about that are also having to suffer by their parent, by this character's parents. And what Mr. Vogel tells Sophie at the end of page 621 is just brilliant and so right. Then all of the zillion twists in here, it's just like, wow. It's amazing. And no matter who Sophie may think she likes, I know who she belongs with, and she better not blow it. I sobbed for almost an hour at the end of this, and I don't enjoy that like some people do. So I was very eager to get to the next one, and I am so happy I did it, and what ended up happening to make me feel a little bit better. So I'm glad I continued. I'm so happy I continued. It's so worth it, and loved it. And then I read Monsters in the Mist by Juliana Brandt, and Source Books sent me an advance reader's copy. Thank you so much. And all these books I'm talking about are out now. This has so many feelings. I thought, spooky read, gonna just have a good old spooky time, and I did, but there's so much more to this book than that. There's so many layers, like I like to say. Just all the feelings. Super creepy middle grade with important and hard issues at its core, and the way the author makes this such an enjoyable spooky story at the same time as weaving those hard topics into the story, where the ghosts, this place, the hauntings, representing real life issues in a way. It's brilliant. It's very rare that I see abuse like this talked about in middle grade, but granted, I don't read a lot of contemporary where it's normally would be found, but I don't think it's a contemporary only subject. It's something that I think needs to be talked about more in all genres. The author did it beautifully. This may be a fantasy paranormal story, but when it all comes together in your head and you see the bigger picture of what every single part means, it's just such a bigger impact for me. And as a kid, I could have used books like this, and I would have been more drawn to spooky books too, so it's just perfect. And I grew up thinking arguing, yelling, physical abuse was normal between my mom and my stepdad. And I was never hit as a child, just verbal and emotional, which I've said before, I think can be worse. Bruises heal, words go deeper. But it created a cycle that led to me to be abused in every way in my adult relationships. Kids need to see stories like this that help them realize that they're not alone, they are worthy, and they deserve to feel safe and loved. And no parent should ever make their child feel like they're nothing, calling them names, putting them down, making them afraid where they should feel safe. You take away their innocence and their childhood. And I was lucky and broke the cycle, but it's so hard, and many can't. Childhood is a big impact on the people we'll become. It's so important to show kids what's not okay and what is, what real love looks like, what they deserve, and what they should never tolerate, nor what they should ever do to someone else as well. This environment can also make for a stronger sibling bond, just like in this book. My older brother protected me so much, and we went through so much together. And I love Glennon and Lee's relationship in here, and how they grew even closer when they opened up even more. And I absolutely loved Glennon's character growth and development. It made my heart so happy seeing how far he came. When he started to think that maybe he was worthy and he was smart, I cried happy tears. So happy and proud of him. And Uncle Job has my heart. That's a real man, a man that knows what love looks like. I think the PTSD and anxiety rep with both kids was very well done. The author, note in the back, going over these things even made me cry. Some wounds just never fully heal, and that's why kids should never be given this pain to begin with, because it'll never go away. Not fully. Anyway, as for the spooky parts, etc., it's just so good. I was not expecting to be so creeped out. I loved it. The whole backstory of this place and the people who live there, the lighthouses, the keepers, the rats, just so imaginative, so atmospheric read as well. Vivid, detailed writing. The twists were so good. Of course, great messages and lessons in here. Hurt people hurt people. Never makes it okay. Some people can't deal with the monster they see in the mirror, so they get worse and make anyone's lives that love them miserable. This is a book that made me remember and relive some of my own demons and monsters, but it was an amazing read. It makes me so happy there are authors like this who are putting out books that will help so many kids. Like I said in my review, thank you for them and for the little me. Just highly recommend. And I'd say it's not for middle grade, because a lot of issues dealt with. I think the main character was 13, and his sister's a year older than him, 14 maybe. I remember him pointing out that she was older, even though he felt like he was the older one, because abuse can do a couple of things. It can either, like his sister, act younger, because that's what it did to her. She draws in and she gets scared and she acts younger than she is. And then he, as the youngest, he acts older. He feels like he's got to protect mom. He's got to do all this stuff. So it can go either way. And even though it's 13 and 14, like I said in another review about 14 and 15-year-olds. Upper middle grade, because I don't think YA starts till 16, maybe 15, depending on what the story is for 15. Because our Shah just turned 15 in, I think, the 4th book. So upper middle grade. And the things they were guessing were, I guess, obvious to us, but I don't think as a kid I would have guessed automatically what it was either. I mean, I have an adult brain. I don't have a growing kid brain, but so even though it's obvious to us, I mean, these are kids reading it. But like I said, it's more than just a spooky story. It's a spooky story plus so much more, some important messages, and I just highly recommend it. And the author has sent me Millie's Encounter with the King of Hillontropa. This is the 2nd book, so thank you very much. It's by Kerry Taylor. This was just as magical as the 1st book. It was so great to be back in this world with these characters. Millie did get on my nerves in this one, the way she was acting, but it makes sense. This would be like upper middle grade too, because she's a teenager with some crushes, but very innocent. It makes sense she got on my nerves. Teens with attitudes annoy me. But I had the biggest attitude of all at that age, so this is accurate in describing a teen. And especially with a teen with new powerful magic would probably be like. Can't say much since this is 2nd, but I love seeing the direction the author took, continuing on after book 1 ends. Some big changes, new characters, new adventures, and so much more. Just fascinating, gripping still. I continue to love the sister relationship and dynamic between Millie and Kara. So realistic, so relatable, besides the magic. I love some of the twists in here as well, and there's something of a secret crush that I really hope gets revealed in the next one. Like, we know about it and the character that has the crush knows about it, but the other person doesn't know. And I kind of feel like they both. It's hard to find. And please let there be a next one. It's full of magic, family, adventure, danger, friendship, and just so much heart. And then I read the 6th book in Keeper of the Lost Cities, Nightfall. These are by Shannon Messenger. I don't think I've said that before. And I feel like I'm reading them faster and faster. I read this one even faster than the other one, and I need more Keef. This did not have enough Keef. The twist that happens almost 200 pages in, like I said in the last review, it floored me, but it was so great. And like I said, it made what happened in the previous book that crushed me just a little bit better to handle. That's all I can say. Never saw it coming. Like so many things in these, and I love that. Still loving the goblin boyfriend-girlfriend in here. And when Keith finds out, it's so perfect. He does what you think. And also, Ro has quickly become one of my new favorite characters of all time. And like I've always said, she writes amazing characters. Ro is so good. They're all so different from the other, but still also identifiable, and you remember them all. Ro, in particular, is a force to be reckoned with and has a killer sense of humor. The kids are getting older each book, so relationships, feelings, etc. are coming more into play, along with the complications they bring. Still very innocent. This alone made me laugh so hard after a boy convo. It says, Sophie scowled. Sandra coughed. Grady shrugged. You just have to read it. Just... And then there's a scene with Bronte on page 523 that made my heart so happy. So many twists and turns as usual. So fast paced. Like I've said, it gets more and more each book, which is why I keep flying through them. It's so hard to put them down. So many epic scenes too. Page 702, are you kidding me? Juliana and Grady are rock stars. And there's a line that says, if you wanted a lesson in the ruthlessness, all you had to do was ask. Yes. And then the very last page say what? And so you can understand why I'm flying through these. Still amazing writing, story building, best characters who all have the most amazing dynamic. Action, adventure, danger, suspense, the best humor when humor is called for. And Sophie better pick the right piece of that triangle. Highly recommend, of course. Then I read Skyborn by Sinéad, and this is supposed to be a prequel to The Eye of the North. And it's like Thing's story before the events of The Eye of the North. And I love Thing, so I was so excited. This was a dark and thrilling tale, full of heartbreak, but also full of hope. The ringmaster is absolutely horrible, and I do not like him at all. And you see over the course of the book more and more the Thing we grew to know and love in The Eye of the North. He becomes Thing because of everything he went through. And so much trauma, mentally, physically, emotionally. I love seeing his courage grow more and more, and his need to make things from the past right. How loyal of a son and friend he is as well. absolutely loved Alice so much. Wares and Creek have my heart though. And now I'm hoping for a third book, one that continues on from the Eye of the North and brings all the characters from both together somehow. That would be so awesome, and I think it would be so satisfying. And the author commented on my review on Instagram and said there's no plans for a third book this side of her hands, but she does have a third book in her head of it all, like what I said. So keep my fingers crossed that it happens. But like I said, it's out of her hands, she said, so hopefully. This was dark, thrilling, fast-paced, dangerous, and full of friendship, mystery, loyalty, bravery, family, secrets, heart, and hope. Bastian's whole backstory, as well as his mom's, was so intriguing. Everything about where his mom is from, the bracelet, the slipskin, all of it. Really enjoyed it. Getting to know more about Bastian, aka Thing. And then lastly for this video, I read Yonder by Ali Standish. And HarperCollins, they sent me this. Thank you so much. So beautiful. Definitely a book hug worthy book for sure. It's all the feels. So many important layers containing hard-hitting important issues. Segregation, war, Holocaust, child abuse, bullying. The author also raises some very important questions. Some I have often wondered myself. And I'll talk about the fictional story first before I dive into all the historical layers of the story. Danny is such a great main character. I loved watching his character growth and development. He was so much braver than he realized. And what he learned about life, people, being a good friend, and being a hero was so great to read. Every other chapter or so, there are gray-washed chapters that are titled Before, and then they have the date. And it means before Jake went missing, and some things that happened up till that point. And I love that. It made a bigger connection for me with all the characters in the story and made everything even more impactful. Very atmospheric. It felt like I was in the South in the 40s riding my bike everywhere right along with Danny. When he talks about sprinkling sugar on his cornflakes, I did that when I was a kid and I still do it. And then the hunting crawdaddies are saying yonder is a direction. It's over yonder. Love it. Phenomenal writing, engaging, and just hooks you from the start. Read the last 75% in one sitting. Now the layers. As far as the child abuse, I think the author did a great job showing what that would look like without holding back. So it's very real, very raw and honest. The bruises, black eyes, broken ribs, etc. The abused child or any abused person saying he didn't mean it and he's always sorry after, and he doesn't mean to, and he becomes someone else. And how sometimes, especially back then, people would rather look away than deal with hard things like that, even if that meant letting someone suffer. Then on the other side, what it does, what it means to a kid being treated like that to receive any kindness or love. It means so much. Then the layer having to do with segregation. This is based in the early 40s in the South, and anyone who is different in any way is never treated like they belong. Like you see with Danny's own mom, but she was white. It was 10 times worse for black people, however. And there's one black family in the town, I believe, and what they do to this family, what even the librarian herself does, is just evil. Even though it says in here that signs weren't up like there were in other towns during segregation, this family still never went to those stores, it's said in here, because there didn't have to be signs, they just knew not to go. And how sad and evil is that? The author has a historical notes section in the back, which I loved and even learned from myself, like how it was allowed for banks or institutions to deny farm loans to black families for no reason but hatred, and to take their land. And in some cases, I learned land that the government had even given them when enslaved people were freed and had to be paid for their work. And I'm getting all this from the back of the book. And they were often paid in the form of land, often land that was poor quality and hard to farm though. I never knew anything about that part, like the loan part and the land. It's just horrible. The next layer is the Holocaust. I was always taught Americans didn't know about Hitler's extermination campaign, and I always asked the same question when someone said that. How could they not know? How could we not know? In fact, we did. The president didn't even allow any more Jewish refugees who sought asylum into the United States. When it was made public, when the Holocaust and everything was made public. Very little page space was given about it after. We became the heroes in the end, but this book shows that there's more to a hero than meets the eye. So many opportunities missed, or just plain ignored. And the values we hid behind, we didn't fight for. Not us, not our problem seemed to be the motto. If you ignore it there, it doesn't mean it can't or won't happen here. Or even simply not being able to comprehend that there could be an evil out there capable of such horror, refusing to believe it possible. Millions of people were being killed and tortured just for being Jewish, and we didn't want to face it. It's unbelievable that the country I love would sit by and ignore that. But it did, for way too long. Way too many people died before anything was really done. And I've always been so proud. I thought the president was the one that went over there and wanted it documented and had people take pictures, because he knew that people would try to say it didn't happen or it was over exaggerated, and he wanted to be like the president said. Plus he wanted it documented, he wanted it written down. And it's so awesome that he did that, because people still say it, even with all of that information, that it never happened or it wasn't as bad as people said. It still happens. So it's awesome that he did that, but it doesn't excuse the fact that he ignored or denied all those people, or didn't take a stand and try to help until millions were killed. So many people could have been saved if we only acted sooner. And yes, not our problem, it's not us. It is, because it could, I'll get in a rant, I need to stop. But all it takes is, and there's so many parts in here to point out, but so many good points made, and everything starts at home. That was one part. When the photos of the camps were published, suddenly everyone was talking about it, and then it says something about this story, so I'm not going to say that. They were aghast, disbelieving. How could this have happened? Why didn't anybody stop it? But I knew, because I don't know about getting older, but I cry easily. But I knew, because we had all stood by too. And that was how terrible wrongs began. You stand by and do nothing. One hateful thing said and you ignore it and let somebody get away with it. It builds. And Hitler took that hate and let it grow. And he took all that doubt and like everything that was going wrong and slowly planted, it's the Jewish people's fault. It's them. If you get rid of them, everything will be better. And all it takes is that seed of hate and letting it grow without any consequences and not doing anything, and it can grow into that. And if you look at Russia and it can easily happen again. So, and all those people that died saying it didn't happen or it wasn't that big of a deal, don't do that. It's not the way to honor them and their memory and what they went through. Sorry, I get my rant about this. So yeah, highly recommend. Alright, y'all, that's it for this video. Have you read any of these? Do you want to now? Did you see some that you want to read now? Have you read some? Did you like them? Did you not? Let me know in the comments. Did you read anything good recently? I hope you enjoyed the video. Today's shirt is wearing shorts too, so I get cold. But Jenny from the block, Jennifer Lopez. And if you'd like to subscribe, I would love that if you'd like to. And I'll see you in my next video.